Black Widow makes some intriguing additions and changes to the MCU timeline, with revelations about Natasha's Red Ledger, secret connections between Bucky and the Red Room, and an updated version of the ending of Civil War. Yippee-ki-yay movie lovers, I'm Jan, and in this video I'm explaining all the ways that the Black Widow movie, including its ending and post-credit scene, update and rewrite the MCU. Spoilers ahead of course, so take care. The main events of Black Widow take place after Civil War, with Natasha on the run after switching sides from Team Iron Man to help Steve Rogers escape the airport battle. The movie begins with Secretary Ross thinking he has Black Widow cornered and about to be captured by a SWAT team. Natasha, however, is way ahead of him and already in Europe on her way to a hideout in Norway, where she receives a mysterious package from Budapest, the Hungarian capital city, which Marvel fans have had questions about since it was first mentioned in the Avengers.
Just like Budapest all over again!
You and I remember Budapest very differently.
After Natasha reunites with her adoptive sister Yelena in the safe house that Nat's fixer Mason set up for her many years earlier, we can see that Clint Barton was also there at some point thanks to the 3 arrow holes in the wall. The holes could well imply there was a fight between Hawkeye and Widow here, as it was where he tracked her down as part of his orders to off her.
I got on S.H.I.E.L.D.'s radar in a bad way. Agent Barton was sent to kill me. He made a different call.
By the way, the 3-hole pattern might also be a nod to Clint's triple arrow shot he used against Iron Man in Civil War, where he appeared to deliberately miss his target to distract Tony Stark so Scarlet Witch could bury him under a barrage of cars. Perhaps then Clint deliberately missed with his 3 arrows in Budapest as well. After all, we know he changed his mind about killing Natasha there. The Black Widow movie also reveals the details of the deal Natasha struck to spare her life and allow her to defect from the KGB to S.H.I.E.L.D. She agreed to betray her boss General Dreykov, the head of the Red Room and the Black Widow program, and together with Clint, she helped rig a 5-story building with explosives which they detonated. The aftermath and fallout from the explosion was very difficult for both her and Hawkeye and involved a shootout with the Hungarian Special Forces and hiding for 2 days in a ventilation shaft in a Budapest metro station. On top of that, the MCU's official Black Widow Prelude comic shows Natasha fighting alongside both Clint and Nick Fury against various soldiers, a little detail that heavily implies the former S.H.I.E.L.D. director was also in Budapest for the assassination attempt on Dreykov, and which also explains why Fury mentioned the city in Captain Marvel.
Belfast, Bucharest, Belgrade, Budapest. It was a Cold War. We were everywhere.
Natasha's betrayal of Dreykov may have been what got her out of the Red Room and into S.H.I.E.L.D. However, the way she set up the explosion is one part of the much darker past she tried to hide from the world when we first met her in Iron Man 2, and something that Loki taunted her with in the Avengers.
Can you wipe out that much red? Dreykov's daughter? Sao Paulo, the hospital fire.
Thanks to the new movie, we now know that Dreykov's daughter Antonia was an innocent schoolgirl who Natasha used to confirm Dreykov's whereabouts to kill him. At the time, Natasha justified Antonia's death as collateral damage. Natasha's actions, of course, come back to bite her, as both Dreykov and his daughter survived the explosion, with Antonia's father then turning her into the villain Taskmaster by inserting a chip into her head and chemically subjugating her. The way Natasha used Antonia is one of the many things from her past that she regrets and is what she refers to in the Avengers.
I got red in my ledger. I'd like to wipe it out.
In the Black Widow movie, with the help of her adoptive family, Natasha goes a long way to redeeming herself by destroying the Red Room, liberating its agents from Dreykov's mind control, and putting the wheels in motion to free the many embedded, subjugated agents that Dreykov posted around the world. The film also reveals an interesting connection between Dreykov's mind control chemical and the Winter Soldier program that turned Bucky Barnes into a lethal assassin controlled by Hydra. While demonstrating how the technology also worked on her pigs, Melina explained that the North Insitute, which she and Alexei infiltrated while undercover in Ohio, was a front for S.H.I.E.L.D. scientists working for Hydra, who, together with the Winter Soldier project, dissected and analysed the human brain to create a cellular blueprint of the basal ganglia, a key part of the brain involved in controlling movement, learning, and emotion. Now, the brainwashing techniques used on Bucky were much cruder than the more advanced methods Dreykov used to control the Black Widows. The main reason for this is the difference in time period. Bucky was frozen by Armin Zola after the end of the Second World War, and according to Natasha in the Winter Soldier film, he was responsible for dozens of assassinations in the post-war period. In Civil War, we see how in 1991 he was reanimated, brainwashed with a memory suppression machine, and mentally reprogrammed to respond to code words to carry out the assassination of Howard and Maria Stark. In Black Widow, we learned that the blueprints for the mind control chemical were stolen and handed over by Alexei to Dreykov in 1995, suggesting the mind control technique had been refined in the intervening years. In conjunction with an implanted chip, Dreykov had the ability to remotely control all of a Widow's actions via a console, even giving him the power to force a subjugated person to kill themselves.
What are you doing? He's making me.
It's intriguing to see how both the Winter Soldier and Red Room programs deployed mind control technology that stems from similar research, and I can't help but think that Marvel will revisit it again in a future movie or show, especially if they want to turn a hero bad, for example. Black Widow also introduces some nice connections to the next movie in the timeline, Avengers Infinity War. The blonde hair dye that Natasha buys in Norway is the origin of her blonde bob cut in Infinity War, which we see her sporting in the Black Widow movie epilogue scene. The hair colour and length change means she can easily adopt one of the several alternate identities Mason gave her and remain undercover more easily than with her more noticeable red hair. And the Quinjet that Mason rustles up for her could well be the one that she, Captain America and Falcon used to get to Scotland to save Vision and Wanda from the attack by Proxima Knight and Corvus Glaive in Infinity War. And Natasha's comment that she's off to break a few friends out of prison and help patch things up with her other family also implies that she very likely helped Steve when he broke Scarlet Witch, Ant-Man, Hawkeye and Falcon out of the raft. And given the repeated theme during the Black Widow movie of how Natasha's super family, the Avengers, was split up, her comment could also imply that she was the one who encouraged Steve to reach out to Tony.
So no matter what, if you need us, I'll be there.
At the end of Black Widow, we also see Yelena give Natasha her jacket that she later wears in Infinity War.
Well, if you're leaving, then I guess you should take this. I know how much you like it.
The jacket has several layers of significance, as Yelena giving it to Natasha not only reinforces the strength of their sisterly bond, which we saw when they were kids and Natasha fiercely tried to protect her younger sister from being sent to the Red Room.
Don't touch her! I will kill you all!
But it's also a very emotional moment, because it's likely this was the last time either of them saw each other. And Natasha wearing it throughout Infinity War was a way for her to keep her sister close even though they were apart. And Yelena may even have been blipped during the Thanos snap, adding to Natasha's sense of isolation and loss during Endgame. For Yelena, the vest also has great symbolic meaning, as it was the first piece of clothing she ever bought for herself, because when she was controlled by Dreykov, all of her actions, including the clothes she wore, were dictated by him. In fact, Yelena taking the jacket and modifying it to add more pockets and make it extra practical for herself represents her taking control over her own body and life, especially as women have long quite rightly criticised the kind of clothing available to them, especially when it comes to lack of pockets and practicality, as their clothes tend to favour look over function, with the idea being that women are there to be looked at and controlled rather than be in control themselves. Although the new movie is somewhat a way to pass on the Black Widow mantle in the MCU through Yelena, it does take the time to examine Natasha's character more deeply and reveal the strength and determination that led her to the heroic sacrifice she made in Endgame, where she gave her life for the Soul Stone to save her super family and the world at large and prevent her friend Clint Barton from losing his life. For example, there's Nat's determination to go on an incredibly dangerous mission with her sister to track down the location of the Red Room in order to liberate the remaining widows and prevent Dreykov from ruining the lives of yet more innocent young girls and women. And there's how Natasha sees that Yelena too is willing to put herself in mortal danger when she throws her baton into the engine of Dreykov's jet as he tries to escape. The resulting explosion throws Yelena off the platform and leaves her falling through the sky, in a moment that's reminiscent of how Natasha throws herself off the cliff in Endgame.
This was fun!
Natasha leaps off the platform herself with a parachute to rescue Yelena, and when she sees Taskmaster about to attack them, she pushes her sister away to safety in a move that's similar to how she pushes herself away from Clint in Endgame to keep him safe and make sure that she's the one to take the fall. The Black Widow movie also tries to go some small way to correcting the glaring issue of Natasha never receiving a funeral in Endgame, where her teammates could have paid their respects for her sacrifice just like they were given time to do with Tony Stark. In the Black Widow post-credit scene, we see Yelena visit a tombstone for her fallen sister somewhere in the Midwest, likely Ohio, where they lived together for 3 years with Melina and Alexei. Notice the woodland setting, which calls back to the opening scene of the movie where young Natasha and Yelena played among the trees, and Nat joked that Yelena would fall down first, foreshadowing how as an adult Yelena did fall first, though later Natasha sadly fell in a much more permanent manner in Endgame. Black Widow director Cate Shortland has also mentioned how the fireflies, which are in both the opening and closing scenes, are another way of paying homage to Natasha's ultimate sacrifice.
What I wanted to do was to say that she's kind of eternal. So I used fireflies, this idea that we're all part of the ether, that even if we're not here, we kind of join the universe.
There is a twist though to the post-credits scene, as Valentina Allegra de Fontaine turns up and we find out that Yelena is now working for the same Contessa who recruited John Walker for her mysterious new organisation that's likely the MCU's version of the Thunderbolts or Dark Avengers. On top of that, Valentina tells Yelena her next target is Hawkeye, who she says was responsible for Natasha's death.
Kind of a cutie, don't you think?
Which sets up Yelena's part in Hawkeye's upcoming Disney Plus series. The movie also sheds a little more light on Nat's biological parents when Melina tells her that she wasn't abandoned by her mother, instead she was selected by a program that assessed genetic potential in infants. Although it appears Natasha's family was paid off in return for giving their daughter to the program, her biological mother was relentless in trying to find out what happened to her daughter, to the point that Dreykov had her killed in case she discovered the Red Room program. Dreykov telling Natasha that her mother was buried in an unmarked grave seems like it could change a detail from a deleted scene in Civil War.
I went back to Russia and tried to find my parents. 2 little gravestones by a chain-link fence.
Whether the Civil War scene can be considered canon is debatable given it was deleted. However, we can't necessarily trust what Dreykov says about Natasha's mother's grave, given he was taunting her at that point. Still, he may have been telling the truth, and what I think's intriguing is that he deliberately withheld her mother's name, leaving us all to speculate on whether there's any existing characters in the MCU who could fit, or whether Marvel is leaving something open here to potentially reference the character at some point in another MCU project. Now, there are a bunch of fascinating deleted scenes and moments from the Black Widow trailers that didn't make it into the final movie, which I'll talk about in my next video. Tap here to watch that or follow the link in the video description. So what did you think of Black Widow's standalone movie? Did you notice any other interesting details, and what were your favourite moments? Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this, don't forget to like and subscribe, I really appreciate it. Tap left for my next Marvel video, or tap right for something else you're sure to like. Thanks for watching and see you next time, yippee-ki-yay movie lovers!